Inquisitor. It's Inquisitor now, right? Remember that war we talked about stopping? Full of little baddies I can stick with little arrows. That's not a friggin' archdemon, is it? Andraste, what did I step in?
I've apparently been through a lot. But yes, Corypheus was a surprise.
No, a surprise would be, oh, I stepped in dog shite. No one says, oh, a Magister God monster, I'm surprised. Impossible things aren't surprises.
I can't help if you don't explain what's wrong exactly.
It's got to be nonsense, doesn't it? We're kind of screwed if it isn't. I mean, that Corypheus thing. A Magister, right? Story is, he cracked the Golden City. But that's a hazy dream. If not, Seat of the Maker, real thing. A seat needs a book, so the Maker, real thing. Fairy stories about the start and end of the world, real things. It's too far, innit? I just want to plug the Skyhole rubbish so I can go play.
You joined to help the little people caught up in this. But do you believe or not?
In Andraste? Of course.
But you doubt what you're seeing and hearing.
It can't be true. Even fanatics don't want to be this right. Look, I have arrows. I can make this Corypheus believe in those. Good enough? Please be good enough.
I'm fighting Magisters. I need you aiming higher than simple selfishness.
Lumpy wants to be a god, and you glow or something. I just want to fix things so I don't have to think about what's real or not. High enough, my lord?
You're starting to not sound completely crazy.
I know, scary, innit? So bring 'em on. But first, food. I'm starving. Uh-huh.
So you like to have fun. The Inquisition seems an odd fit. Why are you really here?
What do you mean? To help people.
It's starting to sound like you're looking for something more.
It is. Mostly. Okay, fine. There's talk and I want to see.
See what?
I don't know. I've got all this chantry stuff in my head, and it makes sense, right? But it's fuzzy. I want to see if it's all really real. I just don't know if I want to really know. So I'm selfish. It's all for me. Count yourself lucky, I guess.
I'll be back if I need you.
Go on.
It was a mistake to use Haven as a base of operations. The town was completely indefensible.
It was a bad location. We should have moved sooner.
You left yourself vulnerable to attack. It was a miscalculation, one that I'm sure you won't repeat. But the enemy struck a serious blow against you and the Inquisition. We must recognize that. You must.
For every person I saved, 2 more were cut down. I failed them.
You haven't failed them, my dear. The men and women who fight for you gave their lives for a great cause, and they fought to the end. The rest still fight, and you will fail them if you give up now. Our enemy advances, Inquisitor. We must not sit idly by. Act first, and teach them to fear us. You can become the leader the faithful require, but you must do it soon. Yes?
Do you think that you and I might someday...
How very sweet of you to ask, but no.
So, this is Skyhold. Come, let's walk the ramparts. I want to examine our fortifications. We'll be able to see Corypheus coming from miles away.
He's not going to get the better of us again.
We lost good soldiers that day, loyal men and women. Let him come. I swear I'll take the Twister bastard down, even if I have to die to do it.
Watch that this enthusiasm of yours doesn't get you killed.
I wouldn't be the first to die in your service. The people flock to your banner, eager to fight for the Herald of Andraste. Their faith is a leash, and your Inquisition has taken hold of it. Tell me honestly, are you what they say you are? Andraste's chosen?
There's so little I remember. What if they're right?
Does it even matter? Don't you see what you are to them? Without you, they'd be consumed by despair. We all would. They need you to be Andraste's messenger. It gives them hope. The truth doesn't matter. This chatter gets us nowhere, and I tire of it.
Scout Harding.
Your worship.
Shouldn't you be out there scouting?
In a bit. We're in Skyhold for supplies and a change of personnel. Not me, though. Indispensable.
So who's Scout Harding, really?
Me? Oh, I'm no one. Lived near Redcliffe all my life. Herded sheep for my neighbor. When the Inquisition came through my village, I helped by telling them everything I knew about the area. Then I signed on. Wanted to see the world before it was swallowed up by... that thing out there.
What's been going on?
Seeker Cassandra came through here, looking like a storm cloud. That's just her face, though, isn't it?
What's been going on?
Ambassador Montilier sent me a basket of flowers to thank me for my work with the Inquisition. She's so lovely.
What's been going on?
Varric came by to talk. He told me a story about copper marigolds.
What's been going on?
Madame de Fer said hello to me. Or maybe she was waving at someone else and I just thought she was. Yeah, that's probably what happened.
What's been going on?
That strange boy came in with an armful of chickens. You're looking after him, right?
What's been going on?
Dorian's awfully pretty, isn't he?
What's been going on?
Just relaxing, taking a breath. You need to sometimes to keep sane.
What's been going on?
They've done a lot with this place. I'm impressed.
What's been going on?
Not much. Usual. I Nice of you to ask.
What's been going on?
Not much. Usual. Nice of you to ask.
I have to go.
Thank you for saving my life, and giving us a chance to help. I'm mostly studying now, but Hedisma can talk to you.
So, that Tevinter guy sent you into the future?
Every time I think I understand magic, the rules change.
I know, right? If I were a mage, I'd just throw fire at people. That's honest. Inquisitor, huh? Well, you've got the fortress for it. Speaking of which, when you've got a second, there's something I want to show you.
What did you want me to come see?
Here, come on. I'll show you.
Why am I dressed like this?
You'll see. Come on. It'll be worth your time, I promise. Evening. Iron Bull. My merc band just joined up.
Tanner. I'm from Jader. Well, near Jader.
Mira. I was guard captain for Lady Pendel. Signed on after shit blew up at the Conclave. Share a drink? Who's your friend?
This is Grim. He doesn't talk much. So, you ready to kill some demons? Or Venatori, or whatever that Corypheus asshole is?
This isn't just about killing. We're helping the Inquisitor save the world and build the next empire.
Well, long as I get paid, I'm happy. That's why I signed up.
I just couldn't spend my whole life on a farm. Needed to live a little, you know.
What about you, Mira? Why'd you join up? I thought you were serving some noble.
I saw what happened at Haven. The Inquisitor staring down that monster and his archdemon. I don't think the chant of light as much as I should. But you can't see something like that and not believe.
Well, Grim and I should find our tents. Thanks for the drink. I know every soldier under my command. You don't have that option, but a few faces might help.
You made it sound like you didn't like the Inquisition.
People don't always tell the truth when you're polite. You've got to poke them a bit.
But those two soldiers might think you're an asshole.
So?
I knew some of the soldiers felt like that, but to actually hear it...
It's hard to be just an idea sometimes. That's all you are to most of them. It's why you could stand right in front of them without being recognized. You've got a good army coming along. Remember that, no matter what comes next.
Thank you for Haven. Less so for Redcliffe, but I am committed to serve your worship.
Have you met this friend of Varric's, Inquisitor?
Not yet, no.
It had better not be who I think it is. I will wring that little bastard's neck.
Why? Who do you think it is?
Someone Varric claimed he could not contact. Someone the Inquisition Indeed, all of Thedas desperately needed. I'll reserve judgment until I know for certain. No need to have that rogue screaming persecution yet again.
Do you have any advice for me?
Tell that demon, what does it call itself? Cole. Tell it to leave. He may not mean harm, but that does not mean he will not harm us. Spirits are not creatures to take at face value. Be cautious with him, Inquisitor.
Do you have any advice for me?
Treat Dorian with caution. It's possible he could be what he seems, a Tevinter mage wishing to do better than his countrymen. What if he is not? At best, his presence makes the Inquisition appear to have questionable allies.
Do you have any advice for me?
Watch the treasury carefully, with that Sarah present.
You think she's here to rob us?
Possibly not, but I would hardly put it past her.
Do you have any advice for me?
It's good that you recruited Enchanter Vivian into the Inquisition. She is ambitious, but has always shown sense in her dealings with the Chantry. My advice would be to watch her, but heed her when she speaks. That one wastes no words.
Do you have any advice for me?
We must root out the Red Templars. They form the bulk of Corypheus's forces.
Do you have any advice for me?
Nothing I can think of. No.
Do you have any advice for me?
We must root out the Red Templars. They form the bulk of Corypheus's forces.
Do you have any advice for me?
We must guard Skyhold carefully. There is no telling when Corypheus will next attack.
Do you have any advice for me?
We must root out the Red Templars. They form the bulk of Corypheus's forces.
Do you have any advice for me?
We must guard Skyhold carefully. There is no telling when Corypheus will next attack.
Do you have any advice for me?
Nothing that you could not think of yourself, Inquisitor.
Do you have any advice for me?
Nothing I can think of. No.
That's enough for now.
Another time, then.
Can I help you?
See you later, Bo.
Nice talking with you, boss.
What was this place? So much room for whatever was here.
What can I do for you?
I'm interested in what you told me of yourself and your studies. If you have time, I'd like to hear more.
You continue to surprise me. All right, let us talk. Preferably somewhere more interesting than this.
Why here?
Haven is familiar. It will always be important to you.
We talked about that already.
I sat beside you while you slept, studying the anchor.
I'm glad someone was watching over me.
You were a mystery. You still are. I ran every test I could imagine. Searched the Fade, yet found nothing. Cassandra suspected duplicity. She threatened to have me executed as an apostate if I didn't produce results.
I would never have agreed to that.
You were in no position to argue. You were never going to wake up? How could you? A mortal sent physically through the Fade. I was frustrated, frightened. The spirits I might have consulted had been driven away by the breach. Although I wished to help, I had no faith in Cassandra, or she in me. I was ready to flee.
But you stayed.
I did. I told myself, one more attempt to seal the rifts. I tried and failed. No ordinary magic would affect them. I watched the rifts expand and grow, resigned myself to flee, and then... It seems you hold the key to our salvation. You had sealed it with a gesture. And right then, I felt the whole world change.
It was that impressive to see me awake?
You had walked in the Fade. I have explored the Fade more than anyone alive. But even I can only visit in dreams. But you might have been able to visit me here while awake.
What do you mean?
Where do you think we were?
This isn't real.
That's a matter of debate. Probably best discussed after you wake up.
Any news on rifts beyond reach of the Inquisition?
Yes. And it is not good.
Are you all right, Leliana? Are you? I suppose not. Haven was trying. At your service.
I have something for you, Commander. The soldiers the Herald rescued from the Fallermire arrived an hour ago.
Thank the Maker. We need good news.
Let's see what we have.
I've made some inquiries into the Imperial Court. The sooner we deal with the threats to the Empress, the better. The political situation in the Empire is dangerously unstable. It will complicate matters.
Everything in the Empire complicates matters. It's the Orlesian national pastime.
Turn your nose up at the grand game if you like, Commander, but we play for the higher stakes, and to the death.
The court's disapproval can be as great a threat as the Venatori. We must be vigilant to avert disaster.
Don't worry, Josephine. We'll protect the Empress no matter what.
I pray you're right. If your vision of the future comes to pass, the death of the Empress heralds the destruction of everything. Orlais holds Tevinter at bay. All of Thedas could be lost if the Empire falls to Corypheus. Celine is holding peace talks under the auspices of a grand masquerade. Every power in Orlais will be there. It's the perfect place for an assassin to hide.
We need to attend this ball.
I'll arrange for an invitation at your discretion, Inquisitor. Inquisitor, I was just inspecting our new headquarters. Foundation cracks, nesting animals, and miles from any centers of civilization. The staff must make it presentable if we're to receive any visitors of distinction.
Our allies shouldn't expect luxuries when they sign on to fight the first Darkspawn.
There is a difference between luxury and a building with no holes in the walls. The mages are showing great trust in you. They need to feel safe here.
Do you not feel safe here?
I've had difficulty forgetting Corypheus' attack on Haven. Do you know who first leapt to arms? Our workers. They were so proud of our cause. Corypheus simply cut them down. So much screaming after that first blast of fire. So many people turned to ash.
We lost far too many good people to that monster.
I'm sure they'll find rest with the Maker. Well, before I return to my duties, allow me to congratulate you on your appointment as Inquisitor, my lord. I will now bring diplomatic issues to your attention, and I'm more than happy to help with any situations that arise.
I'm loath to part from such pleasant company. Would you care to walk the castle with me?
Oh, well, a tour then? Let me fetch the steward.
That isn't precisely what I was hoping for.
Well, do let me know if you change your mind. Now I must find someone to prepare the guest quarters. Inquisitor, is it true? Is the mark on your hand magic cast by Corypheus?
Corypheus claimed it's a spell gone wrong.
I wanted to think it was a blessing. A sign the Maker was returning to his creation. How credulous of me.
The anchor's nothing more special than a misfired spell.
At least you had the good fortune to take it from Corypheus. Does it hurt? The anchor, that is.
It looks strange, but it hasn't done me harm.
If it did come from Corypheus, that's a small mercy. What may I do for you?
What do the people make of us?
We've gathered many favors among the nobility. They will be gently reminded of this.
Any visiting dignitaries I should watch out for?
You may see the Countess Lutetia in the halls. A lovely woman, but her conversations tend towards the unusual. She's the patron of Orlé's greatest naturalists. The Countess's particular passion is collecting butterflies.
That doesn't sound unusual.
She goes into great detail about preserving them. It seems to involve large amounts of chemicals and pins. Greetings.
What do the people make of us?
We've gathered many favors among the nobility. They will be gently reminded of this.
Any visiting dignitaries I should watch out for?
Lady Drummond promised a visit. She has useful resources if we can get her to set aside her games.
What are her politics?
Oh, no, I meant actual games. Chess, cards, dice, little boards with carved idols from Tevinter. She made me play that with her for 8 hours once. Steer her towards cards, if she insists on a match. What may I do for you?
What do the people make of us?
We've gathered many favors among the nobility. They will be gently reminded of this.
Any visiting dignitaries I should watch out for?
None in particular. Our guests are well pleased with what they've seen. Greetings.
What do the people make of us?
We've gathered many favors among the nobility. They will be gently reminded of this.
Any visiting dignitaries I should watch out for?
None in particular. Our guests are well pleased with what they've seen.
Greetings, Inquisitor. That is your title now, yes? I should thank you. The way things ended in Redcliffe, you could have demanded anything you wished. Yet you chose to make us equal partners. I was not expecting that.
You rebelled for good reason.
I'm pleased to hear you say that, Inquisitor. I've been a Grey Warden, Grand Enchanter, leader of a rebellion, and now I am none of those things. Odd where fate takes you, as you're no doubt well aware.
You were once a Grey Warden?
Mine is an unusual circumstance, Inquisitor. Normally one is part of the Order until death. But long ago, I found myself stripped of what made me a warden. They tried to reinitiate me, but nothing worked. Nor could they figure out how it happened. So I was sent to the Circle of Magi, the first warden ever to be kicked out. Quite the achievement.
You sound happy about it.
Becoming a warden seemed like a dream when I was first conscripted. Towards the end, however, my brothers and sisters, they felt I had somehow cheated death. I was glad to leave. It also made me unique in the Circle. I had an opportunity to do more than I ever could as a warden.
You mean you began the Mage Rebellion?
I pushed for our vote to free the Circles of Magi. But I cannot claim sole responsibility for what followed. Still, despite all the chaos, I would do it again. What happened had to happen.
You're not still the Grand Enchanter, then?
Any claim I had to the title ended along with the Circles of Magi, although some still call me by it. Perhaps the circles will one day be resurrected. If so, another will take the position. Until that time, I lead my fellow mages by default. I will do what I can for them.
You believe they'll recreate the Circle of Magi after all this?
It depends on who the next divine is, and what she offers. We can't go back to the way things were. But endless warfare benefits no one. That is why I agreed to Justinia's conclave. There must be another solution.
I've been meaning to ask, how exactly did the Venatori take control in Redcliffe?
Mages constantly found their way to us while we were there. Stragglers, most of them strangers. I had no way of knowing some were actually Tevinter. They spread whispers, encouraged talk of an alliance, and we were desperate. I'm not proud of our choice, but we were certain Templars were coming. It could have ended far worse.
I trust everything is well with the mages?
There have been a few scuffles with your Templars, but overall, it is going well.
I'll leave you to it.
Brilliant, isn't it? One moment you're trying to restore order in a world gone mad. That should be enough for anyone to handle, yes? Then, out of nowhere, an archdemon appears and kicks you in the head. What? You thought this would be easy? No, I was just hoping you wouldn't crush our village like an anthill. Sorry about that. Archdemons like to crush, you know. Can't be helped. Am I speaking too quickly for you?
The attack was unexpected. We're all rattled.
I'm not rattled. I'm the hero of this tale.
Then why isn't Corypheus after you?
Good point. Does that make me a lackey? That's dangerous work. I always assumed the Elder One behind the Venatori was a Magister. But this is something else completely. In Tevinter, they say the Chantry's tales of Magisters starting the Blight are just that. Tales. But here we are. One of those very Magisters, a dark spawn.
Who does the Imperium say started the Blight?
You know how it is. Not us. They say Darkspawn were always there. Magisters and the Blight aren't even related. Is that a surprise? No one wants to admit they shit the bed. But if Corypheus is one of the Magisters who entered the Black City and he's Darkspawn, what other explanation is there?
We only know what Corypheus claims to be.
True. He might be a convincing liar, or delusional, or insane. But how many delusional maniacs are going to have that knowledge? He broke open the Fade. I knew what I was taught couldn't be the whole truth, but I assumed there had to be a kernel of it, somewhere. But no. It was us all along. We destroyed the world.
You didn't do anything. Those men did, 1,000 years ago.
True, except that one of them is up and walking around right now. Not to mention I have idiot countrymen who would happily follow him down that path again. No one will thank me, whatever happens. No one will thank you either. You know that, yes?
We don't know what will happen. Nobody does.
An optimist! Such a rare breed. I've stumbled upon a unicorn. All I know is this. Corypheus needs to be stopped. Men like him ruined my homeland. I won't stand by and let him ruin the world. Oh, and congratulations on that whole leading the Inquisition thing, by the way.
The Inquisition supports free mages. What's next? Elves running Halamsharal? Cows milking farmers?
There was no other choice.
Oh, there were definitely other choices. You picked the one that'll shock the children. I do wonder if you've considered what this support of yours will do. For mages in general, I mean. The Inquisition is seen as an authority. You've given Southern mages license to, well, be like mages back home.
What would be wrong with that, exactly?
Nothing, at first. Thing is, the Imperium was once just like the South. Templars, proper circles, all that rot. Then it changed, by inches. Not that this is reason to oppress us. Still, my homeland should be a cautionary tale, not a source of inspiration.
It occurs to me that I barely know anything about you.
Beyond my being a mage from Tevinter, you mean?
Beyond that, yes.
And beyond my being so charming and well-dressed, which is obvious to anyone.
You certainly think highly of yourself.
It's true. I could be more modest, but I'd be lying. Now, what was I talking about? Ah, yes, me. I am the scion of House Parvis, a product of generations of careful breeding and the repository of its hopes and dreams. Naturally, I despised it all. The lies, the scheming, the illusions of supremacy. That's Tevinter in a nutshell, isn't it? Needless to say, my family was not happy with my choices.
What did you mean by generations of careful breeding?
The great families of Tevinter don't have children. They refine traits, weed out the undesirable, and promote the rest. My mother was chosen for my father because magic runs strongly in her blood. Never mind that they loathed each other. They wanted a son who could become Archon to make House Parvis the envy of the Imperium. They got me. A cautionary tale that you should be careful what you wish for.
Why would your family be upset with your choices?
Because I rejected their idyllic plan. If they had their way, by now I'd be married to some unlucky girl from a powerful family. We'd live in luxurious despair, despising each other as I waited to take my father's place in the magisterium. I declined the honor, and thus it's best I'm far from home. Less of an embarrassment that way, you see.
I'm getting the impression you don't care much for your homeland.
On the contrary, I care for my homeland a great deal. There's so much potential. Sadly, we squander it. We refuse to acknowledge how far we've fallen because pretending is easier. We pretend the Qunari can be beaten. We pretend that we're superior to everyone, even our own people. Not everyone feels that way. I don't. Sadly, we're the minority.
It just seems so much of what you say about the Imperium is entirely negative.
It might sound that way. For all our faults, my people have many virtues. We are laden with history and culture. Tevinter is where Thedas truly began, remember? We treasure our past and preserve it. You can walk down a side street and find nothing built during the modern ages. And despite appearances, we care. Deeply. About everything. We have no reserve, not in war and not in love. If I truly believed my homeland was beyond all hope, I wouldn't miss it so much.
Why remain with the Inquisition? Why not go back to Tevinter?
I'm not exactly welcome back home.
Not that it matters. I'm quite accustomed to being a pariah. It adds to my charm. I can do more for Tevinter here. If the Venatori succeed, it'll set my homeland back 1,000 years. I'm sure some Magisters would disagree, but that's why we kill them.
I think I've heard enough.
That's too bad. I never tire of talking about myself.
I'd like to ask you about Tevinter.
Ah, yes. Everyone outside the Imperium always seems quite fascinated by it. Probably why they come up with so many ridiculous tales. Flying cows over Minrathous. That's madness. All right, that one's actually true, but the cows didn't have wings. I digress. Anything in particular you wanted to know?
Just how often is blood magic used there?
Oh, not at all.
Not at all.
That's what any Magister would tell you. They'd be convincingly offended by the notion, too. Of course, what people call blood magic here, and what we consider blood magic, are two different things.
What's considered actual blood magic in Tevinter?
Blood magic isn't inherently dangerous. Using your own blood or that of a willing participant, what's the harm? The problem is that what's permitted only gets you so much power. And what if you need more? You always need more. That's where we get into sacrifices and demon summoning. None of that is done. Not officially. Behind closed doors, it's a different story. Real blood magic can give you an edge, a leg up against your opponents. It's safe to assume that any mage of rank does it. The rest are quietly shut out of power, to put it bluntly.
You'd think the Templars would object.
I imagine they did, long ago. Once, their investigations might have been sincere. Then their balls were cut off. Too inconvenient. Nowadays, only the friendless are accused. And most of them probably innocent.
There must be some mages who oppose this.
Of course. I do. And I'm not entirely alone. Occasionally, there'll be a Magister who makes noise. And then the reform talk begins. All very patriotic. Meanwhile, that Magister will be quietly shunned. Chances are, surprise, it's learned he was a Maleficar all along. Most learn to keep quiet. Me? I enjoy the allure of pariahhood.
Anyone who talks about the Imperium mentions slavery. It's the center of the slave trade.
Ah. That is true.
And did you have slaves?
Not personally, but my family does and treats them well. Honestly, I never thought much about it until I came south. Back home, it's how it is. Slaves are everywhere. You don't question it. I'm not even certain many slaves do.
You think slaves like it that way? Don't be ridiculous.
I didn't say they like it. It's all most of them know. In the south, you have alienages, slums, both human and elven. The desperate have no way out. Back home, a poor man can sell himself. As a slave, he could have a position of respect, comfort, and could even support a family. Some slaves are treated poorly, it's true. But do you honestly think inescapable poverty is better?
I suppose not, no.
I don't know what it's like to be a slave, true. I never thought about it until I saw how different it was here. But I suspect you don't know either. Nor should you believe that every tale of Tevinter excess is the norm.
It seems strange that an entire empire would be ruled by mages.
I find it strange that your mages don't rule anything at all.
Actually, the fiction in the Imperium is that mages don't rule. The Magisterium rules. That Magisters are all mages is considered a convenient technicality.
What is the Magisterium, exactly?
The upper house of the Imperial Senate, and the only part worth having a seat on.
Those seats are split among the circles of Magi, the Chantry, and the major families. All mages now. It's odd that outside the Imperium, you use Magister like it applies to every Tevinter mage.
If you're not a Magister, then what are you called? No special title?
I'm an Altus, which is almost as good as a Magister, depending on who you ask.
I've never heard of an Altus.
Upper class. Those families who trace descent from the Dreamers, the first prophets of the old gods. If you're a mage and you're not Altus, then you're later. Lower class. If you're not a mage at all, you're Soperati. That's everyone else. We do love our fancy words.
I thought the Archon ruled over the Imperium.
Well, yes. Technically, he can overrule laws passed by the Magisterium, but that never happens. Even so, he gets to appoint new Magisters, which means all the families vie madly for his favor. Thus, the Archon gets invited to all the parties. The truest path to Tevinter influence, let me tell you.
If it's a fiction, that means mages do rule, then.
Yes and no. Let me put it this way. Mages do rule, but not all mages are equal. If you're not from the right family, chances are you don't rule anything. Maybe you're even a slave. The idea that anyone could be a mage, however, keeps the masses placated.
Can anyone be a mage?
Technically. The potential runs mostly in bloodlines, but it's been known to happen. More importantly, commoners believe it can. Tevinter legend is chock full of mage heroes from humble origins. So they hold out hope. Someday my son or my son's son will be a mage. Someday. Poor sods don't realize that means he'll be a quaestor at the arse end of the 100 Pillars, at best.
Being a quaestor isn't a good thing?
I imagine the average non-mage likes to think so. Counting numbers and shuffling papers all day is better than many occupations after all. If you're a second-class citizen among a pack of piranha, however, your outlook changes.
But let me ask you something else.
Of course.
There's an Imperial Chantry, isn't there? With its own divine?
You people aren't supposed to talk about the Black Divine, are you? If you mention him outside the Imperium, people make that face, like you're urinating in public. But yes, we do have the Chantry, or a version of it. Night and day comparing it to yours.
Is the Imperial Chantry so different from ours?
Not in theory. The main difference is in the whole magic is meant to serve man, not rule over him business. Back home, ruling the unwashed masses is serving them, for the good of the Imperium. Perhaps it started with good intentions, but these days it's academic. The circles are in command.
There are circles of magi in the Imperium?
We don't have dismal little mage prisons, if that's what you mean. They're academies, prestigious ones. We have Templars as well, but they don't cancel spells or whatever your Templars do. They're soldiers. They watch for abuse of magic, yes, but only those who are weak or who fall out of favor get dealt with. Mostly they enforce the Magisterium's edicts. The Chantry smiles and nods from the sidelines.
Do you really call him the Black Divine?
We don't call him that, oh no. In the Imperium, he's the true divine. The woman sitting on the Sunburst throne is some backwater pretender. It all stems from a disagreement over Andraste. Marvelous, isn't it?
Why would they disagree over Andraste?
It's not my field of expertise, but the Imperium believes Andraste was a mortal woman, a mage. Down south, they say, no, she's the bride of the Maker, ascended to his side, divine providence, a blah blah blah. We feel better believing Andraste was one of us. Makes executing her less damning, you see. So we elected a man as divine, the South declared war, and we've been feuding cousins ever since.
So, the Imperial Divine is always a man?
All the better to distinguish him from that other one, yes. Don't think there aren't a number of female magisters who bristle at that. Why can't they be divine after all? Same reason you never see a man on the sunburst throne. Because that's how it's always been done. Excellent reasoning.
Do you consider yourself Andrastian?
The big question. It might surprise you that I do consider myself Andrastian. I simply do not believe in the Chantry. It is a relic, whether back home or here in the south. Something from a bygone age desperately clinging to relevance. It's not an opinion that makes me popular.
I share your opinion, actually.
That's not surprising, considering what the Inquisition represents. I'll say this. I may not believe in the Chantry, but I believe in you.
In me?
That the Maker sent you, whether through Andraste or fate. Cassandra is not wrong. You saw that in the future, without you, Corypheus prevails. You are our bulwark against evil.
You don't seem like the religious sort, to be honest.
If you define religious as sitting in a chantry and listening to a blithering hen tell you how to live, then no. If you define it as believing in the possibility that something larger than yourself exists, then yes, by all means. The world is bigger than I, even bigger than you. It laughs at all the things we think we know. The Maker doesn't need me to believe, but I do. The thought of no one at all watching out for us is too frightening.
Let me ask you something else.
So many questions.
I'm wondering if the Imperium would be a useful ally.
I'd think you'd be more concerned whether or not they'd support the Venatori. They won't, of course. At least, not officially. They'll disavow all knowledge of dangerous cultists. Secretly, many Magisters will rejoice at the idea. And if the South falls to chaos in the meantime, all the better.
It would be in the Imperium's best interest to help. Surely it could use allies.
I think the Imperium gave up on the idea of allies a long time ago. We've been fighting the Qunari for what? 200 years off and on? It's a point of pride that we go it alone. They'll sneer at the South behind their silk handkerchiefs and say, "You've had it easy for far too long." Let's not forget that the Inquisition seems to be an arm of the Orlesian Chantry. Anathema so far as they're concerned.
We're not part of the Chantry. The Chantry opposed the Inquisition's formation.
You think that matters? Don't be silly. The Herald of Andraste. Your very title smacks of the Southern Chantry. You may as well be a heathen. I think they're far more frightened what you'll do if you succeed.
That's all I wanted to know.
Fair enough.
Have you gone to see Alexius yet? He's in the cells.
Not yet, no. I saw him before they locked him up. He looked despondent, broken. Not the man I remember, nor the one I want to. I realize it's now your job to judge him. All I ask is, if you do, show him mercy. He hardly deserves it, but for Felix's sake. I can't help hoping there's something left of the man I once knew. So, I assume you're Talvershoth or something.
Why would you assume that?
If you weren't, you would have split my skull open at our first meeting before I said a word. Centuries of warfare with the Qunari do lead to this state of affairs.
You've encountered Qunari before?
Qunari raids are rather old hat for anyone from the Eastern Imperium, although the attacks aren't quite the rampaging wars of ages past. Now we're like two angry dowagers who only remember to spit at each other when they pass on the street.
Did you meet any Qunari personally?
None who weren't rushing towards me with a sword. I was too busy running in the other direction to say hello. I've met some Talbashoth in my time, however. Mercenaries and a few merchants. They're not the same as Qunari. Might easily be a different people altogether.
No one in Tevinter has issues with Talbashoth?
I didn't say that. Prejudices are deeply rooted back home. But I have more sympathy than most. A personal failing, some would say.
If you've no problem with me, I've no problem with you.
A philosophy I've learned to live by.
No issue with my being Inquisitor, then?
None that specifically involve you being so very, very large. No.
Good. I should go.
As you wish. What's on your mind?
I should go.
Naturally.
Greetings to you, Inquisitor. I am to serve as assistant to any research concerns. You'll find my skills are exceptional. I hope they prove useful.
You were made tranquil?
Yes, I am tranquil. It was necessary due to a willful nature that made wielding magic a dangerous endeavor. I remember that being a difficult time, but I cannot remember why. My skills are well used in my current position.
You're taking over the duties of Meneve?
Yes. She said she was needed elsewhere and that I should serve the Inquisition to the best of my ability.
What is she doing?
I wasn't told.
How can you serve the Inquisition?
I am to aid in the research of all creatures encountered in your efforts as leader of the Inquisition.
What makes you particularly qualified?
I remember being fond of animals. I don't remember why.
What is your evaluation of how we're doing?
Not optimal, given the facilities. Skyhold should be improved, or our efforts will continue to suffer.
As you were.
Yes, Inquisitor.
Sister Leliana will want access to the boat. Get the cages up here. Quickly.
I'm sorry.
So am I.
The names of those we lost. You must blame me for this.
We all saw who attacked us. We know exactly who to blame.
I keep wondering if I could have done something different. When the first of my lookouts went missing, I pulled the rest back, awaiting more information. If they'd stayed in the field, they could have bought us more time. I was afraid to lose my agents. And instead, we lost Haven.
You look out for your people. That's a good thing.
Is it? My people know their duty. They know the risks. They understand that the Inquisition may call upon them to give their lives.
Our people aren't tools to be used and discarded. Your instincts were right. Their lives matter.
Can we afford such sentimentality? What if Corypheus...
We are better than Corypheus.
Your open support for the mages likely earned you enemies. Our agents will monitor the situation. If the most opposed can be identified, we may still turn this to our advantage.
You're not planning assassinations, are you?
I was planning to unleash Josephine on them. She kills with kindness. Regardless, I applaud you for the courage to stand up for the mages.
In Redcliffe, you sacrificed yourself so that I could return here.
Of course I did. One small life in exchange for a second chance at history. I always loved a bargain.
It was still a sacrifice, and still noble.
And I would do it again.
The Divine's death hit you hard. How have you been feeling?
Oh, you are referring to my outburst in the Haven. I am much better now. She was a good friend, and it will take time to get used to her absence. But thank you for asking. It is appreciated.
Anything I should know?
It seems that the Orlesian army is awaiting our next move. Some of the generals are sympathetic to our cause, others are still suspicious. Our actions are under a great deal of scrutiny.
Anything I should know?
I've agents stationed by the ruins of Haven, should Corypheus or his lackeys return. So far nothing, and the breach has been quiet for some time. There is something at least.
Anything I should know?
Altegan has returned to Redcliffe Castle and resumed his duties as Lord. The people are returning, slowly but surely. Unfortunately, our show of support for the mages has angered many.
Anything I should know?
I've nothing to report at the moment.
Anything I should know?
I've nothing to report at the moment.
I'll leave you to your work.
Yes?
I'll leave you to your work.
Inquisitor, meet Hawk, the champion of Kirkwall.
Though I don't use that title much anymore.
Hawk, the Inquisitor. I figured you might have some friendly advice about Corypheus. You and I did fight him, after all.
This view reminds me of my home in Kirkwall. I had a balcony that overlooked the whole city. I loved it at first. But after a while, all I could see were the people out there depending on me.
You're lucky it was just a single city. I've got half of Thetis.
You're doing everything you can to protect them.
Does it ever get any easier?
I'll let you know. I don't envy you, Inquisitor. But I may be able to help you.
Varric said that you fought Corypheus before.
Fought and killed. The Grey Wardens were holding him.
and he somehow used his connection to the Darkspawn to influence them.
Corypheus got into their heads, messed with their minds, turned them against each other.
If the Wardens have disappeared, they could have fallen under his control again.
If that's what happened to the Wardens, do you think we can free them?
It's possible. But we need to know more first. I've got a friend in the Wardens. He was investigating something unrelated for me. His name is Stroud. The last time we spoke, he was worried about corruption in the Warden ranks. Since then, nothing.
Corypheus would certainly qualify as corruption in the ranks. Did your friend disappear with them?
No. He told me he'd be hiding in an old smuggler's cave near Crestwood.
If you didn't know about Corypheus, what were you doing with the Wardens?
The Templars in Kirkwall were using a strange form of lyrium. It was red. I'd hoped the Wardens could tell me more about it.
Corypheus had Templars with him at Haven. They looked like they'd been